Hello, I'm Kate Nixon. I'm a former head of chemistry from a UK independent school and now a professional chemistry tutor. In this video, I'm going to be exploring the top 10 strategies for success in GCSE and A-level chemistry. Tip number 1 is to make sure that you fully understand all prior material. Chemistry is a subject that very much builds on prior understanding, and if you don't have that in place, then that's going to limit the progress that you can make on new topics. Tip number 2 is to get organised. You do not want to be that student that puts their notes in the bottom of their bag to deal with later. Things quickly get out of hand. You'll need a folder to put your class notes into. As you finish each topic, you'll want to put those into a lever arch folder at home. Take a bit of time to make sure that all your notes are in the right order. And do get some file dividers so that you can stay organised as you get more and more topics throughout the year. Tip number 3 is to set aside at least one weekly time slot to review your work, and that should be on top of homework time. In an ideal world, you would benefit from reviewing your notes before you go into each lesson. However, this is sometimes difficult to achieve, but it's really important that you take time on a weekly basis to go through what you've done in class to help build your understanding, identify anything that you don't understand, and this puts you in a much better position to build in lessons on what you've done previously. Therefore, you will make better progress. Tip number 4 is to do your homework in a quiet space without social media. You will benefit from having your notes with you. Take a look through them before you begin. And if you're having difficulties, go to a textbook or have a look on a helpful website or a YouTube video, but don't sit there Googling the answer or going to a chat group with your friends to find out what they've written. It's really important that you use your homework to build your own understanding. It's only by doing this that you are going to maximise your progress. Tip number 5 is to do your homework in a timely manner. It's no good starting it just the night before it's due, or quickly trying to squeeze it in at morning break when you've got the lesson next. You need to make sure that you have enough time to identify any difficulties, that you can then take some time to go and read around that topic area, or that you can go to your teacher and ask them to point you in the right direction for a series of questions that you can't attempt. You then have the time to go back to the work and put that new understanding into practice so that you can try those questions that you couldn't do previously. And this will go down much better with your teacher and help you improve your progress. Tip number 6 is to space out your answers. Do not be that student who tries to cram all their working around the questions on the question sheet. In chemistry, you've got to show what you're doing. If it's calculations, you need the space to set it out logically. And if you're writing explanations, I strongly recommend that you write 1 point per line. It helps you to structure it and it helps an examiner to read what you've done. And that maximises your marks. Tip number 7 is to be proactive about developing your own understanding. You should not expect to be spoon-fed. The new chemistry specifications require you to apply your knowledge to unfamiliar questions. You need to practice developing that skill, and that means that you need to be prepared to go to textbooks or to websites or watch a YouTube video to understand the topic fully, to try and do that for yourself before just going and asking someone to tell you what the answer is. Tip number 8 is to seek timely help with concepts or questions that you do not fully understand. If after being proactive, there are still questions that you don't know how to attempt, or concepts that just don't make any sense, then do go and seek help from a teacher. And do it promptly. Don't let these problems build up. Otherwise, when you come to build on that prior knowledge, it won't be there, so that limits your progress. And as these problems start to build up, it becomes a mammoth task. So if you want to be able to access those top grades, you need to be regularly ensuring that you fully understand all of the work and dealing with any issues that arise along the way. Tip number 9 is to revise thoroughly for end of topic tests. These provide a really important checkpoint along the way for you to develop your understanding and see what level are you performing at currently. If you want to be accessing the top grades at the end, you need to be trying to work at this level throughout the course. The tests are an important checkpoint, and it's a wasted opportunity if you don't revise thoroughly for them. You need to set aside significant time to do this, and you need to spread it out over several sessions to make it effective. So this means rather than doing one 2-hour session the night before the exam, it's more effective to spread those 2 hours out over the course of several evenings. During your revision, you should be reviewing your notes, learning the material, and practicing questions. Tip number 10 is to review your tests carefully and then further consolidate your understanding as required. The first thing you need to do is to go through your tests and mark corrections on your paper, and that means for all of the questions, not just a selection. You need to note down further review work that you need to know when you couldn't recall the information, and question types that you need to practice in order to develop your answers better for next time. You then need to make sure that you set aside time to do this consolidation work promptly, otherwise it tends to get left. And if you haven't consolidated, then this is going to limit your progress on future topics, as well as meaning that you haven't learnt from the test. So do take that time to do that part of the process. And finally, file your test away safely. You will want to come back to it at a future point. And that's the end of my top tips. If you found this useful, you may like to download a summary document from my website, www.candochem.com, and you may like to view my soon-to-come video on the 10 top tips for successful revision in chemistry. If you've found this helpful, please do like my video and consider subscribing to my channel for regular future updates on both GCSE and A-level chemistry.